The fluorescent lights hummed overhead as Marcus Williams pushed his cart down the marble hallway of the Meridian Tower, Manhattan's most exclusive office building. His weathered hands gripped the handle tighter as he passed the floor-to-ceiling windows, where the city's glittering lights stretched endlessly below. At 43, Marcus had learned that dignity wasn't found in job titles or bank accounts, so it lived in the space between a man's intentions and his actions. Tonight, however, that dignity would be tested in ways he never imagined. The evening shift was Marcus's sanctuary. While the corporate elite had long departed in their German sedans and Italian leather shoes, he found peace in the quiet rhythm of his work. Each office he cleaned, every surface he polished, was done with the same meticulous care he brought to raising his 8-year-old daughter, Emma. The overtime pay from these late hours meant Emma could attend the art classes she loved, could have the supplies she needed for school projects, could dream without the weight of financial worry pressing down on her small shoulders. Marcus paused outside the executive suite on the 42nd floor, adjusting his worn work shirt before entering. The nameplate read Khalil Al-Rashid, CEO, and through the glass doors, Marcus could see the man himself, a figure he'd only glimpsed in business magazines left behind in waste baskets. Al-Rashid stood with his back to the door, phone pressed to his ear, his silhouette sharp against the panoramic view of the city. As Marcus quietly began his work, emptying trash bins and dusting surfaces, fragments of Al-Rashid's conversation drifted through the air. The billionaire was speaking in Arabic, his voice carrying the casual arrogance of someone accustomed to being the most powerful person in any room. Marcus understood every word. Growing up in Detroit, Marcus had been raised by his Lebanese grandmother after his parents died in a car accident. Tatu Amira had insisted he learn Arabic alongside English, weaving stories of their ancestral homeland into his childhood like golden threads. "Language is the bridge between hearts," she used to say in her gentle accent. "Learn it well, Habibi, for you never know when you'll need to cross that bridge." "Look at this pathetic creature," Al-Rashid was saying into his phone, gesturing dismissively toward Marcus without bothering to lower his voice. "Cleaning my office like some trained animal. These people have no ambition, no dignity. They're content to grovel for scraps while men like us build empires. It's almost pitiful how they shuffle around, invisible and insignificant." The words hit Marcus like physical blows, but he continued his work with steady hands. He'd faced worse than cruel words, a poverty that kept him awake at night calculating grocery money, the exhaustion of working 3 jobs while Emma slept, the loneliness of being both mother and father to a little girl who deserved the world. Still, something ancient stirred within him, a memory of his grandmother's voice echoing across the years. Al-Rashid continued his verbal assault, switching between Arabic and English as he paced. "The irony is delicious. Here I am, discussing $100 million acquisition, while this janitor probably makes in a year what I spend on a weekend in Monaco. These working-class Americans are there so wonderfully predictable in their mediocrity." Marcus finished cleaning the bookshelf and moved to the desk area, his movements deliberate and unhurried. In his peripheral vision, he caught Al-Rashid glancing at him with amused contempt, clearly enjoying his private entertainment. The billionaire assumed his cruelty was invisible, wrapped in the safety of a language he believed was foreign to the man servicing his office. When Marcus reached for the wastebasket near Al-Rashid's desk, the billionaire ended his call and addressed him directly in Arabic, his tone dripping with mockery. "Do you ever wonder, little man, what it would be like to matter? To have your existence mean something beyond pushing that cart?" For a moment, the office fell silent except for the distant hum of the building's ventilation system. Marcus straightened slowly, setting down his cleaning cloth. When he turned to face Al-Rashid, Something had shifted in his demeanor, a quiet strength that seemed to fill the space between them. In perfect, eloquent Arabic, Marcus replied, "I wonder, sir, what it would be like to be so wealthy in possessions yet so poor in character that you measure a man's worth by the size of his office rather than the size of his heart." Al-Rashid's face went ashen, his mouth opening and closing like a fish pulled from water. The confident smirk evaporated, replaced by something that looked dangerously close to shame. Marcus continued, his voice gaining warmth as memories of his grandmother's teachings flowed through him. "My grandmother, may Allah rest her soul, once told me that true nobility isn't inherited or purchased, it's earned through how we treat those who can do nothing for us. She said that a man who mocks the hands that serve him reveals not the servant's weakness, but his own." The billionaire stumbled backward, his carefully constructed world of superiority crumbling with each word. I didn't realize you understood," Marcus finished gently. "Yes, I speak the language of my ancestors. I also speak the language of dignity, which seems to be foreign to you despite your expensive education." He paused, letting the words settle. "But more importantly, I speak the language every parent knows, the language of sacrifice for those we love." Marcus pulled out his phone, showing a photo of Emma at a recent art show, her face radiant with joy as she stood next to her painting. "This is my daughter, Emma. She's 8, and she's an artist. Every night when I come home from jobs like this, she shows me what she created that day. She doesn't see a janitor when she looks at me, as she sees the man who makes her dreams possible." Al-Rashid stared at the photo, something flickering behind his eyes. She's beautiful. She is my universe," Marcus said simply. "And every surface I clean, every trash bin I empty, every hour I spend away from here, it's all so she can believe that kindness and hard work matter more than the size of someone's bank account." The silence stretched between them, heavy with implications. Finally, Al-Rashid sat heavily in his leather chair, looking suddenly older than his 55 years. "My son," he said quietly in Arabic, "he's 8 too. He barely speaks to me anymore. Says I'm always angry, always working." Marcus nodded, understanding flooding his features. "Children have a way of seeing through our defenses straight to our hearts, don't they?" "I've forgotten how to talk to him," Al-Rashid admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "I give him everything money can buy, but not everything a heart needs," Marcus finished. He moved closer, no longer the invisible janitor but a fellow father. "Would you like to know what I've learned about children? They don't need our perfection, they need our presence. They don't want our wealth, they want our time." Al-Rashid looked up, tears threatening to spill from eyes that had forgotten how to be vulnerable. "How do I fix what I've broken?" Marcus smiled, the same gentle smile he reserved for Emma's bedtime stories. "The same way any of us fix anything worthwhile, one conversation at a time, one moment of presence at a time. Start with today. Start with hello." The transformation was immediate and profound. Al-Rashid's shoulders, which had carried the weight of corporate dominance, now seemed to carry something more precious, a hope. "I owe you an apology," he said in English, his accent thick with emotion. "What I said, it was inexcusable." "We all say things we regret when we forget our common humanity," Marcus replied. "The measure of a man isn't in his mistakes, so it's in what he does after he makes them." Al-Rashid stood and walked to his desk drawer, pulling out a business card. But instead of handing it to Marcus, he tore it in half. "I don't want to give this to you as a CEO to an employee," he said. "I want to give you my personal number, as one father to another. Would you maybe like to have coffee sometime? I could use advice from someone who actually knows how to be a good dad." Marcus accepted the handwritten number, tucking it carefully into his shirt pocket. "I'd like that. And Mr. Al-Rashid, your son doesn't need a perfect father, he just needs his father." As Marcus prepared to leave, Al-Rashid called out to him, "Marcus, may I call you Marcus? What you do here, this work. It matters. Not because it serves me, but because it serves your daughter. That makes you one of the richest men I know." Walking down the hallway with his cart, Marcus felt lighter than he had in years. The building's marble floors gleamed under the fluorescent lights, but they couldn't match the brightness in his heart. He thought of Emma, probably fast asleep in her small bed, surrounded by her artwork and dreams. Tomorrow, he would tell her about tonight, and not about the cruel words or the moment of conflict, but about the bridge built between two fathers from different worlds. In his pocket, Al-Rashid's number felt like a promise, not of riches or career advancement, but of something more valuably the reminder that humanity could flourish in the most unexpected places, that kindness could transform even the coldest hearts, and that sometimes the greatest victories came disguised as ordinary Tuesday nights in office buildings where janitors and billionaires discovered they weren't so different after all. The elevator doors closed behind him, but Marcus was already planning the stories he'd tell Emma about bridges, hearts, and the ancient grace that flows between them when we remember that every person we meet is fighting battles we know nothing about and deserving of the dignity we hope to receive ourselves.